One will falter when you die. This harness will guide us through danger.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Oceanic Challenger Series, week number 4. We finally made it. The black screen did go away. My name is Bryce Egan Paul. I'm going to be your host once again, now joined by Corey Vandy Bassi. How you doing?
Pretty good, thanks, Bryce. I
Yeah?
mean, it's been a while. Last time I got to see you, but I'm glad to be back in the studio. A few things have changed.
Yeah.
But one thing that didn't change was the weather in Sydney. It is so freaking hot.
Yeah, true. I've actually, I don't know about people at home, I have to drive up from Canberra.
I know,
And,
you were telling me.
going from Canberra where it's nice and cool in the morning, you're wearing a jumper, then you're sitting in your car all day, and it just gets disgustingly hot when you arrive at Sydney. It's a bit of a bad time.
It is a bit of a bad
Yeah.
time. You just literally, it feels like you're changing hemispheres.
Yeah.
But all you're doing is a 3-hour drive.
Yeah, just sitting in the sun. But we are going to get into today's schedule, week number 4. A bunch of the new matchups coming our way. And first one of the day is actually going to be UQU, the Union boys going up against the Dire Cubs. Second game, Gravitas Academy versus Legacy Genesis. AVA versus Chiefs Academy, game number 3. Emprox versus the Tigers from Queensland there. Game number 4, Mammoth Academy versus Order. And to round out the last of the day is going to be Bombers versus UTS. And yeah, you were telling me the UTS guys are actually, they're your guys.
They're my alma maters.
Yeah.
So we can get a win. I'm sure we can.
It's been a bit of a rough start.
It has been a bit of a rough patch, but you know what? I think that finally we're going to break through this week. Maybe. Hopefully.
Yeah, this is interesting because obviously, I don't have ties, and then Tim has ties, or Carbon has ties, and then
Yeah.
Max last week, one of the Queensland unis, and now you're with UTS as well. I'm just, for once in my casting
don't have a
life, I am
bias.
just the unbiased commentator sitting here doing my best Jake Spawn
Sure
Tiberi
you are.
impression. Yeah, but first game of the day is UQU versus the Dire Cubs. How do we kind of think about this matchup heading into it?
I think heading into it, both you and I think that Dire Cubs should come out on top. I mean, they haven't really given us any reason to why they might not. They've had a very good first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We know that they've had that experience from the OPL. The roster hasn't made any changes. What's working for them is pretty much that team synergy. They've already had
Yeah.
the same team going for them. The picks that they've got, it seems like a bit of comfort. They're not too fussed with changing it up. But ultimately, it's just been clean plays.
Yeah, you kind of hit on it, right? There has been the one change, Kweku in for Dragku, but now that they've got him on the main lineup, I expect that the lineup won't change for the rest of the season. And as you kind of mentioned, they are just playing the standard stuff, right? This is just super easy front to back. They're coming in week after week and having very strong performances. So as you hit, I reckon Dire Cubs certainly got something to prove this match, trying to get their 4th win, whereas Union, a little bit of an uphill battle. They have had some very good performances, but I do kind of want to hit on their strength of schedule, right? They have a pretty rough start to the split, and they haven't got as many wins as they would have liked, but they played QUT, it was the Battle of the Queensland Unis, and then they had the big upper hand in that one, right?
That's right.
But then it was Gravitas, Bombers, and Dire Cubs. They've lost 3 weeks in a row, and then they've got Legacy Genesis after that. So
It's tough.
that is
Just to start your week with.
yeah, that's a little bit of a rough start to the split. So hoping onwards and upwards here for UQ Union fans.
See how we go. But I think something that you touched on as well at the very beginning of OCS was that Dire Cubs, we expect them to be the favourites coming into this. I mean, their only critique that I've seen is that they end games too slow. Imagine that being your only critique.
That's a Dire Wars OPL. That's
Yeah.
a Dire
That's just
Cubs.
Dire
That's
Cubs.
yeah.
That's just them in a nutshell. But to have that be your only critique, that's pretty good.
Yeah, if you're picking up wins, it definitely feels good. But we are into Champion Select, and a couple of interesting things hitting the bench already.
It is, yeah. We've got the Evelyn Morgana ban. I mean, Morgana, we know she's such a pain to deal with. The Evelyn, I feel, is very, very much targeted towards Get Back.
Udisov in the jungle.
Sorry, Udisoft, yes.
Evelyn in the mid lane. I feel like that'd be a bit of a rough laning phase. I don't know.
Please don't let that be a
Don't
meta
let-
thing. You know my house is faceless, and that's why, the weird off-meta things. But
okay.
I am not that mad scientist. I'm not starting today.
Yeah, you're a meta train.
Yeah.
You're on the meta train.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm okay with the meta train. I mean, it's meta for a reason, baby.
Yeah, it's good.
Continuing on with the bans, we do see Ezreal taken out, also followed by the Jarvan and Irelia ban
Yeah.
on the side of Dire Cubs.
Yeah, so I kind of like the Irelia ban, right? Riota's had some very good performances on the Irelia. I think it was week number 1 where he absolutely popped off, and that looked like a very comfortable game for him. And since then, it's been put on, I think it was a LeBlanc into Corki matchup against Luch last week, and wasn't so crash hot. So it makes sense, take away the comfort, take away another big power pick like the Sejuani for Candyman. So this is
We
Dire
know
Cubs.
how much he loves that, yeah.
Yeah, they're just on red side. They're banning the standard stuff, and And Evelyn is really the only big one that kind of pops out at the moment.
Evelyn's just interesting to me because I feel like she either does amazing or she just falls off. Or
Yeah.
are we getting the Sona Taric? And yes, we are. You've already talked about some of the nuances of this lane, but really it just comes down to sustain, sustain, sustain.
Yeah, it's just annoying. Like, it's actually just, as a bot lane player, like, you just go up against Sona Taric, and it's like, okay, you can play hardcore, like, you can play Draven matchup, and you can just try and, like, boom it in laning phase, but
It's very
trying to
difficult.
outscale it is certainly difficult, and for a team like Diacubs that I think plays very cohesively as a unit, if you get to that mid-late game stage, does make a lot of sense for them to pick it up, but that's a pretty baller answer.
I mean, if you've got sustain for days, you need burst to try and counteract that. So by picking that Leona, by picking that Draven, really gives yourself a good chance to at least try and come up against it,
Yeah.
even before Taric gets his ultimate. And Sona gets her ultimate.
Yeah, so this is like the big thing already, right? Like, you look at the Union's draft, and no matter what they take as their jungle pick, they've already got their top mid flex a little bit. Aatrox is most likely going to be going to the top lane in the hands of Nightfaller, but they want to target bottom side incredibly hard this game already. You got the Draven, you want to be cashing in those stacks and abusing the Leona. I will say Ubisoft for Direwolves, or Diacubs rather, has had some very strong performances in the 1v1 jungle matchups, right? And over the first couple of weeks of this split, I feel like he is going to be very impactful and something that Union need to deal with to grant themselves access to the bottom side of the map.
Oh, I was interested that Union yet have not targeted Hecarim. I mean, we know Ubisoft's preference for it. He's very, very strong with it, but more, I think it comes from his jungle presence. He knows where to be. What I wanted to touch on as well was Nightfaller locking in the Aatrox. Dragku, we know he played it very, very well last week, but the Vladimir is still up. Looking into this next set of bans, I mean, we see the LeBlanc taken away, we see the Syndra, followed by the Karthus and Akali.
So an interesting bunch of bans. Mid lane Paul has been hit incredibly hard here. Get Back could just take the Silas if he wants to go into the mid lane, and the Syndra is already gone, the LeBlanc is gone, stuff like that. So a couple of interesting picks. The Morgana is kind of a big one that I feel like if was up and available, if Union could draft like a Morgana mid-comp with what they've put
would've been
together,
no-brainer.
then that is so good, right? You project the Draven, at the same time you have the Leona to be able to kind of force these fights that you do need to. You mentioned the Hecarim. There it is.
There it is. So, I mean, if you let the Hecarim go through, that just speaks to me that UQU, they're not afraid of it. They're
have an
not
answer.
threatened by it. They have an answer for it. That's it. And they really value taking away those mid picks from Get Back.
Yeah, and we will be able to see what Candyman is going to pick up for himself in terms of the jungle matchup. That one I actually like a lot. You can pick off almost anyone on the enemy team right now. If you get early access to the Hecarim before a team fight starts, like he has to blow his ulti to even live, you can kind of pick apart the team comp where Diacubs is like the Sona Taric, collectively they're very strong.
Yep.
But if you can just eat the Taric before he casts the sunglasses, before he casts the ultimate, then yeah, the Sunnies can't float. The Sunnies start
I've never
floating
heard
down.
it called it, but I love it.
Yeah.
I can see why. As soon as you said it, I was like, it makes sense.
Yeah, if you can eat him, then that's a good time. But that's an Urgot.
That is an Urgot. I mean, we saw so much of him back in his heydays. I mean, he has been adjusted, but he is still a good top laner.
Yeah.
Really, I think what comes down to it is that he can farm quite safely. He becomes an absolute powerhouse if you give him a chance to in the mid to late, and it's just safe.
I kind of think it's just like Union doubling down on what they've got, right? They have the one pick comp. These team fights or like fights, skirmishes in general, it's like if Union get the pick they want, then they can win. It's a Skarner ulti into like the execute from the Urgot, into all of the damage that the Draven can dish out, stuff like that. But in terms of long sustain sort of areas, Diacubs have a fairly squishy lineup here. They do have sustain, but in terms of just beefiness in general, it is going to come a lot down to that single first pick and the execution of the start of these fights.
It will. But two very interesting compositions. You really did kind of tie it all together where we do see Diacubs. They've got that sustain. They have incredible AoE team fight. Ubisoft, he's back on the Hecarim third week in a row now. So it just reeks of comfort yet again. They haven't needed to change too much. UQ Union, I feel like they've taken a totally different direction with their draft. I feel like they have really studied and anticipated what Diacubs might be willing to bring, and it's a very intelligent response.
I don't think, like, Diacubs have obviously been, in the first 3 weeks, they got 3 wins. That's a very successful start to the season, but they're by no means secretive. You don't look at this team and be like, wow, it's hard to prepare for because they play weird stuff.
No,
it's just like
consistent.
Yeah, you look at them, you kind of know what you're going to get. If you leave up Sona Taric, that was just the first 2 taken away immediately. They were happy to draft that one up. So, as you mentioned, could be a nice bit of scouting here by Union, but it does really come down to execution. Can they perform this? Can they get the kills they need early game and kind of snowball their way to victory?
So this is going to be a mid Aatrox. Urgot, he's not going to perform too well, so that was a no given. I haven't seen a mid Aatrox in quite some time since the changes went through. Any thoughts on that one and how he might perform?
Yeah, we did see one last week. It's kind of interesting. You talk about the Urgot rise. Like, if you think back to like OPL, Tectonic Shock, when he was like the big... Actually, was he in Tectonic or was he in AV? When he picked like Urgot into Rise. I think it was Tectonic and it was into Swiffer's Rise. And he's like, this is the matchup that I like. Obviously, like the champions have been changed now. Like Ryze a little different, Urgot a little different. So
But
there was
still
potential.
the same
like
kind of
fundamentals.
fundamentals.
Yeah.
Ooh, jinx.
Yeah, but you mentioned like the Aatrox, right? It isn't the Urgot, so obviously a little bit harder to kind of play around. You're going to get bullied out a little bit early. You just kind of want to play with your jungler.
Farm up as much as you can.
Get like the wave push. You want to play the priority game more than anything else, and then start to like influence earlier on the map before the Ryze can.
It's good. I mean, something as well that's really interesting about UQ, I feel as though they've tried a couple of different compositions. We talked about how Dire Cubs, it's the same kind of picks. We know you leave the Sona Taric up, the Hecarim up. They're just going to go for those champs. But UQ, like I said, they're trying to expand or flex out, see what other strategies they've got up their sleeves, really.
Yeah, and like I like that. You need to, especially like I'm not sure of the logistics of the lineup, like how long these guys have been playing together, right? Like this could be like the first couple of weeks. It's one of those situations where like there's 11 weeks of OCS and 12 teams, so you get one crack at everyone.
Yep.
They've had a pretty damn hard schedule to start this one off, so it's like when you're going up against, at least like coming into the split, you can look at some of the top dogs just in terms of like player talent and like who they're playing for. The Dire Cubs ex-OPL immediately 4-stack, and you're like, these guys are probably pretty good. Like you can prepare to like put a big swing out there. Like you can play like the Leona Draven, and then I think also like the next step for that, which I like, is that it kind of just makes sense in the meta. This isn't random garbage stuff that they're playing. Like you don't look at those champions and you're like,
it's not comfort. It's actually there's meta behind it. We know that these champions are quite strong. That's a very valid.
It doesn't seem like one of those situations where you're stuck. Like, oh, I can't do anything, so I have to play this wild cardy garbage that probably won't work. Right? This is like the meta answer to Sona Taric. You pull out the Leona pretty strong right now. The Draven has been seeing a bunch of play, like looking at MSI, looking at international. So. Yeah, I like the style coming out here, just wanting to get things swinging early.
That's good. I mean, the Draven, it just comes down to as well how hard they're going to be able to punish it. We know Draven, he's all about getting those stacks cashed in early to become the absolute monster. Sona Taric, they're going to be playing pretty safe on that one.
Because like we've seen very successful Sona Taric. I think Taric
Isn't it 100%
has a
win rate at the
100%
moment?
win rate in the OCS.
Yep.
But then you look at like overseas in that game IG versus SKT, and just how terrible the Sona Taric was. Like
There are ways to dismantle it.
Yes, and if UQU can beat IG, then sick. Like that is like
Replicate it, yeah.
that is a disastrous strategy, right? Because like Sona Taric is one of those things where it's just almost must pick ban. Like you can either play it or you can't. It's not really something with much forgiveness. It's like this is a weird style, and like you have to be practiced on it. And then if you can like leave it up, very obviously give it to Dire Cubs to take away, you can answer it. That does make sense.
It does. But, I mean, Yumi will come through next week.
Yumi.
And this is something that we were talking about where you went as far as to say that she might even be a better Sona. Whereas I've been hearing people who don't know how to play her, mind you, be like, she's just a worse Sona.
Yeah, I actually haven't played Yumi, so I don't know how to play her either. Like, I'm going to be straight up honest. But, like, she's been obviously with the hot fix. Like, she came out, it was new champ status where everyone's just like, oh, yeah, this guy's garbage. Like, same with Ivan. And then, like...
And Silas. Everyone's like, this champ
It's just
sucks.
every champ ever. Like, 2 patches later, people have figured out
Just
the
see
build.
Reddit. You just know that new
yeah.
champion gets announced, they copy paste their threads, just Control F the name.
Yeah. And so, like, I think she's done a bit of a hard swing. And also, like, looking at the support players in the OCS, I think we have a bunch of Yumi players, just given what I've seen in solo queue, like, spectating a couple of games in some of the games of my own. So, it will be interesting once she gets enabled. But we are on patch 9.9. So, unfortunately, she just literally isn't patched into the game right now.
Not yet.
Not be able to pick that one up. But we are in onto Summoner's Rift for game number 1 of the day.
This is going to be good. So it's UQ versus Dire Cubs. And immediately we see them start to set up for their jungle. Make sure that no one's going to try any cheeky shenanigans.
Yeah, neither team really has a decent level 1. I'd say UQU probably have the advantage, but most likely just going to be...
Just get vision.
Do I agree with what I've just said? You know, sometimes you're just casting League of Legends and you say things and I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that.
I agree with what I just said.
There's like a Ryze
No, I've
route,
had
there's a
that before.
Taric stun, there's Silas CC. There's some tools to play with level 1, but doesn't look like we're going to get a lot of action.
Candyman spotting out, putting a ward of his own, which will help later to really track where the enemy jungler is going to be.
And you mentioned tracking Ubisoft, right? I feel like that is kind of pivotal to be able to have a successful game here.
You let the Hecarim through, you need to have a solution for him.
Yeah, it's not about, like, in this sort of matchup, Skarner versus Hecarim. Like, they're not going to be wanting to bully him out of his jungle in the 1v1. It's just being able to track him, be able to grant yourself access to the bottom lane. This sort of, like, fighting over these wards is exactly what you kind of expect in this sort of matchup, where Dire Cubs obviously want to play very safe, and the complete opposite is true for the Draven and Leona. I will mention, Corporal and Andrew, I believe it was against Order when they played the Pantheon Talia, actually had some very good wave manipulation to just sit that wave outside their turret and deny a lot of that kill threat. If they can replicate in this game, then the lane presence of a Draven, of a Leona, could certainly be nullified a lot, so we'll see how that tracks heading further on in.
Alright, so we've got a blue start by Candyman, and we do have Ubisoft starting his red. So it's going to be that race for level 3.
Yep,
But
pings
pretty
out,
standard.
Yeah, onto the enemy jungler, so they do know where Hecarim started, or at least have a little bit of an idea. I expect the lanes to not get too frisky early. Mid lane, potentially, Aatrox just wants to, like, use health to fight for priority here. It is actually going to be the Comet Rise, picked up here for Get Back in that mid lane matchup, and Riot is just kind of got the Ignite, has no TP to be able to match that one, so certainly in terms of immediate burst power, the Aatrox has the extra summoner advantage. This is triple TP. This actually, like, given the comp that Diacubs have sort of drafted towards, it's been Aatrox top, it's been Ornn top, it's just been straight up front to back. This could be, like, whilst you can play this in 5v5, this could be like a 1-3-1, like flexing a little bit of macro knowledge here, ability to play different styles. This could be a little bit of experimentation here from Diacubs. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's a lot of teleporting, and you don't really pick that unless you really need to get back into your lane for that farm. So you've got to hyper carry something like that, or like you said, for those macro plays, that macro decision making. It's really good to see that perhaps if this is Diacubs trying something different, they're a bit of a trade in the top lane. As you said, they're not going to be going too ham. Nightfall actually loses out that one a little bit. Maybe overcommitting a bit, but...
Silas has a little bit of the sustained advantage, and if he's able to be able to, like, trade on his terms, he gets to proc the Aftershock, and you saw Nightfall, like, just did a bunch of damage.
Just has to stay.
And it just did nothing. Like, he's just hitting Aftershock, doing next to nothing. Drag Q hits him with a W in the face and walks away, so... It's sort of, onto the Silas to pick his windows here, as Nightfaller's wave is just shoving through. Junglers are on the bottom side, though.
Both of them, so just taking the Scuttler here from Ubisoft. So again, standard rotation. Got both of the double buffs as well, but as you said, the pings just showing that they have an inkling of where he is.
Yeah, also enlisted the help of his mid laner here. So Sweep is going to come through, he's going to clear this ward out with Get Back, but then he's also going to get double crab. So Candyman has kind of just conceded the double crab start here, despite knowing where he started. So Hecarim is going to have the small advantage of being able to pick that one up fairly early. Definitely feels nice.
And then also, I mean, the lane is pushed up, not much he can do, but at least he can keep top laners safe as they start to clear on out. In the bot lane, as he said, so Tarek, he's going to be primarily CSing. We know Sona will utilize the Frostfang, Spell Thief to really stack on up.
It's pretty hard to use the Spell Thief in this matchup. Like, if you're in Q range, you're
Leona
probably in E range.
Now that she's level 3,
right?
this is prime.
Yeah, so now that you hit this mark, you can see a recall is going to come through, actually getting a red pot with the Klepto. I'm interested to see if Andrew sells that one or if he just keeps it. No, he's going to keep it. That decision makes sense. The only thing that Leona can do is one-hit you. And if she doesn't one-hit you, hold that thought.
Oh, forcing the flash.
Oh, okay.
Game of chicken right there.
Yeah,
and it worked.
Dragku mega lost. That was, Candyman just zooms into the lane. That was, look, to call a spade, that was a mild pants shitting right there, and yeah, pops the flash and has to walk away.
Uses the teleport, so he'll be back in lane, not missing too much. Also just keeping the push up, but this is a chance now with that flash gone. Candyman, he has rotated to help out Riot in the mid lane.
Yeah, and that play like makes a lot of sense, right? Like if you get the flash out, all of a sudden Silas on the next rotation, once Candyman hits level 6, that flash will still be down, and then he has like an avenue to play through. He probably wants to look towards the bottom side more than anything, but if you're struggling to find those opportunities for at least 5 minutes, they will kind of have that other option, and ganking for an Urgot is pretty easy, right? Like if you could just land the flash
Here's
clip.
the combo coming out right now onto Corporal.
Okay.
Not too much burn, but you can see that's what you need to respect. They definitely won that trade.
Yeah, they do get the heal out of Corporal, which super good. They were fighting into the wave there, so you can see Farmer and Sand. They just play off the Aftershock proc. Leona goes in, presses W, hits him in the face with a Q, and they didn't want to keep committing through the wave. They just get that burst of damage down, get out immediately, so they got the Summoner. It seems like at least early UQU actually getting some advantages in the side lanes.
This is the beauty of that lane, though, with Sona and Tarek. Give them a little bit of time, already healed back to full.
Yeah, that's gross.
Yeah. Any other lane would be forced to sit on back, but nope.
And
Give a couple seconds left.
He has 4 potions. He's got 2 potions. He's
Watch
got a mana pot.
watch if any of them go down. That's,
I expect not. I feel like in week 2 they played Sona Tarek and they
Yeah, they
just
had, like,
sat
3
on,
biscuits.
They have 4. I think like they had maximum amount of biscuits by the end of laning phase, and you're just looking at that. Like you take a look at the scoreboard at 10 minutes. It's like you know that these guys had a very easy laning phase.
you look at the meters at the end of the game, you're just like, that's just gross.
Yeah.
No one wants to see that. In the mid lane as well, I mean, he's doing very, very well. As you said, his early game, not as strong. That's really where Get Back can start to exploit a little bit. You see that in the CS difference, but he's not falling too far behind. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's just kind of like
You just
playing
wanna
for
keep
priority. Yeah, he wants to get his jungler to level 6, really. Like, he doesn't have the ability to force. Skarner, not much of a champion, has the Predator now, so certainly has opportunities available, but once we do hit the level 6 mark for the junglers, and they are just going to ding it right now, I expect UQU to start looking at hard-forcing opportunities. I actually really like this recall timing out of the bottom lane. Draven and Leona, they have the priority, they push it in, and they're going to go back. This is a Mobies, this is a BF sword completed on their jungler spike, as this is a return to the top
Trade
side.
coming on out. This time Candyman, he's hungry to zoom up in, but Dragku manages to get safe. Udisoft there to back him up if they wanted to commit.
Yeah, that had to be the play there. Udisoft, I don't think he showed on any vision, but maybe a little bit of an inkling there from the Union guys. They know something was up. They didn't want to commit too much. They did actually burn the execute from Urgot and didn't want to follow through. Had the flash advantage in both the roles, top and jungle, so definitely could have hard committed to that if they wanted to, but happy to just kind of concede it. Udisoft, as you mentioned, was there, so it could have been a little bit of a ruckus of a 2v2.
That is something as well you need to respect about the Hecarim. Just his ability, the mobility that he has to be from one side to the other very, very quickly. You need to really either just commit, get the kill, get out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's going to be there.
Yeah, it certainly is. And like, if you are these champions, if you're a Skarner, if you're an Urgot,
Mountain
and you
Drake started.
yeah, you blow your ulti, and a Hecarim just can't, like, you have nothing to deal with that guy. He's going to zoom in, he's just going to do a bunch of damage, clean you up with the backhand. He gets the double fear. That's disastrous. So makes sense. As you mentioned, yeah, Mountain Dragon is going to
No
be the prize
vision at
here.
all from the Dire Cup, so they can just give this one over. That's a great pickup right there for UQ.
Yeah, it certainly is, and this early game is kind of tracking as we expect, right? Like, Dire Cubs aren't necessarily falling down on the bottom side of the map. They're relatively even. The CS numbers are kind of jank given it's Sona Tarek, but they haven't died early. They haven't given over any kills, but UQ are using their tempo and their kind of priority leads very well here. This is a dragon. This is a blue buff steal. The read is there from Udisoft to kind of answer on the other side, and now the onus really rests on Nightfaller to be able to live on the top side.
Candyman wanting to take blue buff of his own, so just exchanging. I mean, the members are there to try and contest, but they know that they need to give this one through. Draven has pushed all the way up to the turret, and they don't want to lose any free blading.
Yeah, but the difference here is the Dire Cubs do something very intelligent. Just contesting that blue buff, they see where the Skarner is. Before I was making this point, Urgot was sitting between his 2 turrets. No vision on the Rise, no vision on the Hecarim, and was just sitting super far back, so he did get denied a wave, and it was the right call to make. Nightfaller doesn't want to die, he doesn't want to get dived by the Realm Warp Hecarim combo, so let's kind of just back off, but a little bit of vision go a long way here, and that gets back safely.
So Udisoft tapping into a little bit of that vertical jungling. And I mean, you see the instant response from Candyman is to do the same, but he got stalled out a little bit. That was the difference, as you said, thanks to that play from Dire Cubs.
Yeah, it didn't lose too much time, but like Dire Cubs, their bottom lane, they didn't lose a wave. Like, it did crash, and they probably lost a couple of melee creeps, but they were able to see the jungler, see he's committed to blue, then just kind of walk back down. Of course, they do have the TP available from the Sona, so she can just look for any reset he wants. He can TP back, doesn't really need that one too much, but Udisoft is looking for something. He's cancelled his base 3 times.
Draku giving him a little bit of that hard time when he can. As you said, if he gets that combo, he'll take that free trade because he has the sustain.
Yeah. Looking for the dive opportunity. Flash was still there from the Urgot, so ultimately it would have been a hard one to pull off, just kind of posturing and looking for anything they can get. I'm surprised a gank at the bottom side hasn't happened yet, but this could be the trigger. He has Predator, he has Flash available. Any CC lands for this bottom lane, and Skarner's going to be right on top.
They have so much of it too, just
Sam,
waiting.
Does he throw the ulti? Leona ulti's going to come out any second now.
Thinking
Do
about
they
it.
actually want to go for
Here we
it?
go,
Here
the
it is.
ultimate from Sona comes on out. There's 3 members stunned. However, Sandra's go in. Udisoft out of nowhere goes onto Farmer, who's forced to back out. He's And
Oh,
Udisoft
no.
finally gets the first blood. He's hungry for more though. Candyman forced to use that flash.
Oh, and that was just disaster from UQ Union. Dire Cubs, they read the play perfectly. Udisoft walks out of base, zooms down with his skirmishers, and that was just a straight up 3v3. No burst was able to come through before the Tarek ulti lands, and it's just so easy from that point. Chase him down, get a bunch of summoners, all 6. I guess Smite doesn't really count. 5 from 5 burnt from the bottom side of the map, and you get first blood as well.
That was really well played, as you said, just from Diacubs anticipating, knowing how to read the play, but also Ubisoft, as I said, you got to respect it. If you want to make the play, make it now, sooner rather than later.
Certainly is the case. Rico's going to come through. I like that they're looking for that play. Draven now goes back. Was the one to die, so I lost a couple of plates, or stacks rather, but that's the double BF sword build, so they need to be looking for those. Yeah, but they need to be looking for those opportunities, right? That's now Ghost Burn from the Skarner, Flash Burn from the Sona, so she's still a target. I was expecting the Leona ulti to come out maybe just a few seconds earlier, because that's just non-committal. You throw that out, Sona doesn't really have time to throw the ulti, so she has to dodge. No flash available, is probably landable at any point in time in the laning phase, and she just gets one hit. Taric ulti, of course, has that delay, so despite the first opportunity not really working there for the Union guys, certainly have many more to come.
A couple of lane change-ups as well, just priority around that Rift Herald.
Yeah, looking for a little bit of vision. Ubisoft is going to walk towards top side, so Diacubs definitely know what's going on. I think given that their bottom lane is now walking bot side, they're probably going to concede. If UQU want to opt in for a Rift Herald, they just give that one up, but they just play hardcore into the Urgot. They look for the dive, they get back ahead, and probably happy to make some sort of trade on the other side of the map. And
Herald goes over.
yeah, okay. So actually started that one up and got it ultimately for free. No contest coming out. Andrew and Corporal not rotating down to the bottom side, so very nice play there from the Union guys. Get themselves a free objective.
They're doing very well in terms of reading. Diacub's a little bit slow to respond, but as you said, it's okay to give these up early. They know where their strengths lie. Really mid to late is where they come online. But in saying that, though, UQU, this is kind of what they need to cement, to really get that tempo still going. I mean, I know Ubisoft got the first blood, got the kill, but as you said, these are the plays that they want to be looking for.
Certainly the case, and like the win conditions are still there. They definitely want a hardcore play around that Draven. Skarner Flash was lost in the bottom side, which definitely does hurt in terms of getting back on top of anyone, because it's going to be the 2v2 in the mid lane. That's a very nice ward that Diacubs have, probably spotting out the Skarner right now.
Cloud Drake, your favorite?
Yeah.
Honestly, though, it works very well for Hecarim. If there's someone that would benefit from Cloud Drake, someone who actually enjoys it, it would be the Hecarim.
Yes. Whilst I agree, technically, he probably would prefer an Infernal Drake, but you can't have them all. So
you can't, no. But free Drake now over, so they're equalizing in terms of the Drakes collected.
A Drake gets picked up. I'm most curious about this game. Like, this has progressed like fairly standardly. Like a little bit of action in the early game. Like Silas was looked at, a gank wasn't found. We have just had kind of that 1 3v3 in the bottom side, which Diacubs kind of took the victory there. But this is a fairly slow laning phase, and I'm interested to see where Diacubs take it if they do get later and do have some control. Is it just a hardcore 5v5? Is it the 1-3-1? And because honestly, I would like to see a 1-3-1 if they can like set up and start playing towards the side lanes and open these things up, play something that they haven't been in the last couple of weeks. This certainly is the opportunity for it. But in saying that, they certainly have to get there before they can pull that off.
True, true. Drag back in this top lane, so he's farming up pretty well, as we said. Now starting to get that sizable lead. I mean, Urgot was forced to cover bot when they went for the Herald. So then back just a little bit.
Nightfall is in 100% like top lane territory. When you hear top laners complain about their role, it's this game. It's your jungler ganked bot. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out, so you just have to concede waves under your top turret, and then the map flips, and you're just sitting there just conceding waves with like a Rise, picking up like anything you can, and now, fortunately, finds himself in a 30 CS hole.
It can be a tough gig, being that top laner.
It's definitely a painful role. Do you play top?
No, but
Good
Heist
answer.
Does.
Yeah, okay.
He loves it.
Yeah.
So it's good I don't have to.
Old school Singe player.
Yes. Don't even.
Singe players are interesting people, but
Alright.
it's potential for a 2v2. Skarner is here as well as the Hecarim.
Look at all those pings as well.
Yeah.
Raining on out. I really like something as well in terms of the vision that they've both got. It's fairly equal across both teams for the bottom side of the river before Drake was even taken. So it's just really trying to, I guess, anticipate the paths that Ubisoft might be taking.
Yeah. And I'm interested to see when they pull the trigger on this. The gank is going to come through.
Candyman might be trying to commit for this. He actually is, until he spots Ubisoft. Now finally turning his attention on Riot. And the ultimate comes off. Ubisoft has totally got Candyman separated. The suppressor's off. It's not going to be enough. Ubisoft gets the kill. Teleport came across. Ubisoft is going to fall. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Nightfall gets that execute. The rest of the members of Dryer Cubs are there now. Riot, I mean, he's going to proc the resurrection, but with 4 members, you're going to fall on down.
And that's just a repeat of last time, right? UQU, they'd look for the play. Skarner goes in, I think barely didn't have his flash available. Get back. Interesting play. Actually, they're looking for more, looking for the secondary dive here, but couldn't quite find it. And yeah, once again, unfortunately for Union, they commit to the play. They do land the ulti onto Ubisoft, but they just don't have the damage there. Draven a little bit too late. Sand was the only one rotating down, and the sustain is just there. To make things even worse, Rift Herald has to get popped in the base, so this is definitely rough territory for Union fans.
Dire Cubs played that very, very well. And I think it just shows their ability to really read the plays that are trying to come out. Get back, he knew he was threatened, managed to buy himself enough time. Rest of the team collapsed very, very nicely. Whereas we saw it took a little bit more time for UQU. They thought it was just going to be a quick in and out, but not really anticipating the stall.
Yeah, if they can like get the 2v2, actually they get the crash here? Looks like they will.
Escorting Shelly in.
Yeah, plating is long gone, so it's not going to give them a lot of gold or anything. They do actually have 4 members here, so we've opted in for the ARAM. But everybody will just walk away. But as I was saying, like the Sona Taric do have like some ability to move down the river quicker, right? Like Sona's puts on the E, just kind of zooms down. Draven was left alone, so of course, if they can't get in and get out in what is probably the 2v2, then once it becomes a 4v4, it's very hard to burst anyone out with the Taric ulti, with the heal, the Guardian, the sustain, the everything.
It's going to be Candyman, just seeing if he can just get eyes on where the rest of the members are. I feel like that's always been the name of this game as well, the vision. They need it, but it feels like when they need it most, they're just not having it.
It's the consolation prize, because none of the ganks have worked, right? So it's like Skarner's looked for the ulti, like he's been looking for the right plays, now has flash again, so he can kind of hard force something and should be able to land an ulti no matter what, but like the vision is the consolation prize. A gank doesn't work, so he just resets, walks towards the other side and looks to play some and
get back,
sort of
getting
get
the
some
turret
control
as well, totally unchallenged, so that's going to be another nice pickup.
Because you're starting to see the solo lanes maybe start getting a little bit out of hand, right? Like it's the second item's going to be completed in the next couple of minutes for the Rise, for the Silas. 50-ish CS lead on the top side, 40 CS lead in the mid lane as well. So in terms of 1-3-1 potential, Dire Cubs look like they're setting this one up and both their solo lanes are ahead. It's a very good situation to be in.
Here we go, an Infernal Drake is on the table, but you can bet that Dire Cubs, they'll want to challenge this one. Currently no vision on it.
Yeah,
It does take a genius to work out where they might be. Might be a little bit too late to come into this party though.
Yeah, recall. Potentially a little bit too late. Potentially just completely opting out of the fight there. They don't want to go in for the risky 5v5. Just happy to start splitting the map and concede that one over. So, yeah, don't have any vision, don't have any control. Do concede the Infernal, so Union still kind of grasping at some opportunities here. The Infernal makes it a little bit easier to find their fight that they desperately need.
Bit of a chunk coming out, and that's really get back to saying it's only going to get downhill from here. That's really Rise and Nush. I feel like he does nothing, then all of a sudden, once he gets those 1 or 2 items, you're just like, wow, it's really hurting me now.
He's like
name of Rise.
He's a weird champion. With like
So weird.
He sits in like melee range almost and just like dishes out a bunch, but he's so frustrating to play against because you can't hit him with anything. Like he pops like, it's not a phase rush in this game, but he of course has his move speed boost anyway. And just trying to hit him like with a hook as a support player, trying to hit him with anything is just like you have to hardcore predict or kind of just doesn't work.
True. Defending their turret here, so it's still, I mean, the lead though in terms of gold is really what's starting to concern me.
Yeah.
I mean, UQU, they're getting these objectives, but as you said, the CS, the kills, it's starting to add up a little bit in terms of that gold difference. And we already talked about the strength of Dire Cubs is in that mid to late game. You're really letting them get there.
Yeah,
you don't want to let it snowball.
The window is closing fairly rapidly, right? We have hit 20 minutes, Dire Cubs. They have both side lanes ahead, both able to pressure in, and what was a couple of thousand gold is now 5k in the hands of the Dire Cubs. They don't have the Infernal, they don't have the Mountain, but they don't want to be taking these fights as they've shown. They just took away another rotation of buffs, the blue buff taken away, so it's not like an Urgot or an Aatrox desperately needed, but you're starting to see these,
Candyman that's been losing out time
CS
and time
leads
again.
just kind of building all over the place.
Yeah, I feel like Candyman has had the roughest game of them all.
Yes, potentially. When your ganks don't work, it's just miserable.
It is.
It's like
and you've got Skarner. He is a ganking champion. You are fully going to commit, try and get those kills, and it's been twice now.
I'm interested to see if anybody does end up like paying the QSS tax, or
I don't think they don't feel threatened by him just yet.
yeah,
So that's why
they look at Sona, they look at Taric, and it's like, oh, I don't know. We'll be fine. We have shields. We have heals. It's all right. We didn't need to go for that one.
It's just a battle of the engages, really. As you said, even in that bot lane fight with the Leona, it's just going to be a battle of who can get their ultimates first and really just blow them up. So I feel like it favors, like Dire Cubs, they have more room to play because of that sustain. They can just duck in, duck out.
Yeah, well, you've seen the Vision game in the past 2 minutes, right? Like, they've just had complete control of the river and everything past it. They have their next ward line kind of in the blue pit that just died in the enemy Raptor pit, and that one in mid lane. Thank you, Observer. So, like, they have had the control for a long time, and because they have the control, it's so hard for Union to force a fight. Because if Skarners just walk into a lane over Vision, it's very easy for Dire Cubs just to go for the double punish on the other side. If you're Candyman and it's like, I want to kill Silas, I'm going to walk bot side, I'm going to look for this guy, then Ryze just pushes in your top side. Hecarim doesn't even bother going down and contesting the 2v2, and Dire Cubs just look at it like, Dragku, you're on your own. Like, just live, do your best. And even if he dies, you just push 2 lanes on the other side. This is a little bit of a risky one. Dragku does not have much vision here, but...
Nightfaller walking over one as well.
Yeah.
Dragku letting him know that he saw him. And Nightfaller more just interested in that CS.
Yeah, he's just trying to deal with the wave as much as possible, trying to stay in Fog of War and just threaten the gank. He absolutely doesn't win this one.
He's going very, very aggressive, and it actually, I like that by Dragku forcing out a flash for free.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? If Skarner hasn't showed on Vision for a while, the Nightfall are kind of playing with that incomplete information, knowing that Dragku is slightly nervous about that one. Ubisoft finally looking to answer the play. Here we go. He sees him.
Nightfall is trying to commit a little bit over here. Ubisoft knows that this is his time to go in.
Dragku
Nightfaller. There we go. The execute comes on out. Nightfaller. He gets away with it. Well played, committing to the kill.
Yeah, the Urgot gets everything and more. Gets the kill, gets the flash, and on the other side, his team gets control. Maybe they can't do the Baron, but this is just buying a little bit more time. All of a sudden, they do have priority. Bot side, they didn't have to expend much as well, right? It was just the Urgot's cooldown, so they still have their engage tool. The Leona's still there, the Skarner is still there, and have everything up and available. Oh, Andrew playing with fire here. I just want to see Sand throw an ulti. If Andrew's just going to like step up in the mid lane, Leona ult, non-committal, you can just throw that one out. If that lands, the CC hits, it's an E, it's a Q, it's an insta-burst from Draven.
But just, they're wary.
Yeah.
Still respecting it. I mean, finally though, UQ, they get a little bit of breathing room. That's got to feel good. Finally, if you're Nightfaller, to know that you can still come up against and don't have that CS lead doesn't really matter for you. But also just committing to the kill, not really getting scared away. I'd love that chicken play that he did. He's like, I'm gonna, you don't know where my jungler is, he's coming for you.
Because Dragku already lost it once this game. Right? Like the first flash in topside when he didn't need to use it and he's
skittish.
Just, skittish, and he walks away. That's a perfect word. And then the next time it's like, you know he's playing around your jungler. And that's one of those games where like as a Thresh player, you throw your lantern to nobody and you just walk at the enemy lane. And they're just like, oh wow, is the jungler there? Like, what is going on? So he just kind of steps up, ignores the wave, and in Dragku's mind, there's only one reason he'd be there, so...
Reminds me of a solo queue. If you've ever had Threshers try and like mind game you, where they throw the lantern out for nothing to try and dissuade you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I love it. It's just a mind game. Second Cloud Drake we saw going on over. That's Ubisoft picking that up. He's like, is this all I'm going to get today? But the mobility, I mean, you've got Sona now, Speedy Girl, you've got Ubisoft as well.
Yeah, potential fight is brewing here. Actually, no, the ward is
they've been spotted.
Hands of Dire Cubs, so we'll be spotted out. Still definitely posturing for this one. Riot's actually looking for a play.
Top lane brawl. Here we go. Dragku in a bit of a troubling situation. A bit of lag, doesn't even matter. Riot goes for the final blow. That's going to be the kill.
Yeah, just a very easy cleanup. We're talking about the solo lanes for the Dire Cubs getting monstrously ahead. The Ryze seems to be in that position, but 2 back-to-back solo deaths here from the Sylas.
Oh,
that's an ulti
right there
burn.
from Andrew, making sure that Candyman cannot collapse onto them. But that's one ultimate burn for free.
Yeah, do they want to look for more? Do they start up the Baron? Dragku is kind of off the map for 20 seconds, and Nightfaller does have TP, so they're definitely wrestling for control. Whether they're willing to start this one to force the fight, it looks like no is going to be the answer, and consequence of Dragku's death means that Nightfaller just gets a bunch of time to play with himself in the bottom side. That was phrasing.
Very strange.
That was phrasing.
He's going to watch that back and be like, really, Bryce? Really?
Yeah, that's an unfortunate one.
It's okay. He won't hold it against you, I'm sure. But yes, bot lane is free for him, basically. I mean, they can't see you, but I swear you're blushing a little
Only an Os. That's a train wreck.
Don't worry about it too much.
That is a train wreck.
All right, things are stabilizing now. I mean, Dragku is back. He can rejoin with his team, but again, the respect. I mean, Baron Pit, it could go disastrously wrong. They know it was only one member down. The teleports, I think, is the biggest thing that they're respecting as well. It's going to be, if they do try and commit to it, you have so much mobility. Drag-Q, as soon as it's back up, he'll come, and that could be a disastrous throw.
Yeah,
so
and it is,
take it easy.
like, the big thing from these kills is not necessarily the gold, right? You look at Urgot now, and he's got 2 items, and he's feeling much better than he was before, but it's kind of the control that it has allowed Union to get back on towards top side. Like, the 1-3-1 is effective when it's set up. Before they get to that point, like, they are very weak. They don't want to team fight you, but they don't have access to the side lanes, and all of a sudden Union have track to the Baron. They have the fast track and the vision control. Oh, Farmer actually gets spotted out by Udisoft here.
Udisoft not fully wanting to commit to that, seeing the
smite?
collapse.
Not able to smite that one away, but as I was saying, like, they have control of the map, Union now. And Diacubs don't want the team fight, so they have to start playing scared. It's the 2-item spike here for the Draven, has the BT, has the IE, and because Drag-Q can't contest the 1v1 in the bottom side, he's doing Raptor Pit rather than catching his wave. So they're certainly opening up options. I was kind of talking about the window certainly closing for Union, and looks like they've found a way to prop it open for a long time longer here.
That was much better phrasing.
Yeah, agree.
You brought it right back with that one. But yeah, again, bottom lane is where we want to see Nightfaller. He has that teleport up. There's no reason why he needs to be joining his team. And it's really just wrestling the vision. It's the vision tug-of-war that we see time and time again for the Baron Pit. Andrew, he doesn't trust it. So he, again, discourages him, throws out the ult, doesn't even think about it. Because you have to respect Sand. If he chucks that ultimate down, as you said, the combination, you're going to be blown up.
It's just Candyman's flash, right? Like, Andrew has to blow the ulti above flash range, or he's just getting locked down by the Skarner, he's getting one hit, and then they're just walking to Baron and looking to start their team fight.
Oh, there's the ultimate. Doesn't connect, unfortunately, but as you said, it's good to at least throw it out, see if you can make that play.
Get back, just trying to check the Baron, because Diacubs have no control over that one, so checking with the Realm Warp. Corporal in a bit of trouble.
Over there, you can see right there.
Udisoft.
Udisoft with a big ultimate. He's threatening Farmer, but it doesn't matter. Corporal is first to follow. Riot is bullying them out. The ultimate from Tarek has gone down. Udisoft completely collapsed upon about the rest of the members.
And that is exactly the fight they needed. They get onto Corporal before he can blow the sunglasses and has to run away. Udisoft goes into the backline. He does so much damage, it just dies immediately.
Kill over here, forcing the flash onto Get Back, threatening it though.
Yeah, Get Back losing the flash. His ability to contest this Baron is pretty high. It's going to be a 5v3, but this is just the full commit from Union.
Drag-Q, he's trying to get a little bit of poke, but there's not really much they can do. They have the vision. Andrew, he doesn't have the ultimate up.
Yeah.
He has the ultimate up, but he knows that if he steps in there, he's going to be a dead man.
And exactly the fight they needed. 28 minutes. This game has gone on for a fairly long time before the first Baron, but Union, they picked that one up. That's a QSS for Draven, the boots as well, so Power Spike's being hit with the Baron. They can just march down mid lane, start whacking open this map. There's so much standing gold available, like turrets here and there all over the place. Only one is down on the Diacubs side, so what was a 5,000 lead for Diacubs earlier is now just 2k for Union, and they're going to eat that up with the Baron fairly quickly.
Union, I'm surprised here, honestly. I really am. I thought Diacubs, I wasn't thinking that they were going to have the easiest game of it, but I didn't expect to have that much gold lead to suddenly swing back into UQ's favor like that. And it's really just smart management of their ultimates from what I can see.
And those couple of deaths from Drag-Q really hurt them, right? Like, they haven't been able to set up the map since that point, and if you do have 10 members on the screen, that's exactly what Union want. That fight actually started off without Skarner having to use his flash, and I keep harping on it, but that cooldown is so useful. You can see how scared Andrew is of the Skarner and having to blow that ulti before team fights even start, just because Skarner pops W, pops his Glory, pops his Predator, any of the 1-3 buttons that he has, and has a lot of presence, so the fact that they still maintain those cooldowns now with the Baron means certainly having a lot of options here.
Farmer is also starting to get very, very scary, and this is also where the Sona Tarek starts to show some of the weaknesses. You don't have that late game AD carry.
Yeah, sustained damage isn't really there. They do have a Rise to kind of bolster themselves in that regard, but in terms of AD threat, Udisoft is kind of it, and
he used a full combo onto Farmer, and he still couldn't touch it, and because of all the peeling. But also Farmer, with that Bloodthirster, he could just stand there and just chuck.
Yeah, it's just difficult. Like, Udisoft as a solo dive threat isn't going to be that useful. If he can get Drag-Q in the back line, they can 1-2 punch and kill a Draven. But if you're just running at the Draven, Skarner gets a free ult target in the Hecarim, and then you're just taking a huge champion off the map there for Diacubs. So team fights aren't the easiest to navigate for them, and as you see, this is 2 turrets already going down.
Pushing, using that Baron buff over there as we want to see. They're finally starting to get that gold gap. It's getting smaller and smaller now. Andrew,
Zona.
he has to ultimate flash to get away. He's never able to use it to engage. Time and time again, they're threatening him.
Yeah, hasn't been able to use that one once. Taric ulti is still there to buy some time, but no heal, or at least summon a heal. Ubisoft is definitely looking for the flank here, and Union know that something's up. They've gone for the 2-lane push here. Urgot pushing on an open inhib turret down bottom side. Get back and Drag, who just walk away to defend.
The split is there. Baron buff is still there. Seeing what other value that they can get. Ubisoft, I like his positioning because if they did want to overcommit, that's some of the most volatile plays I feel like Hecarim can do. But UQ, they don't commit to it at all. They're playing it safe.
Yeah, the fact that he's not standing in vision and hasn't shown means they don't really know where he is. As like at the top level, you can have an inkling, like I assume he's in this bush, but there's not really much they can do about it, given that they were playing the bottom 2 lanes, right? They don't want to expend vision topside, they don't want to walk into the topside jungle to check, so the fact that he's just kind of there as a threat, and a threat is all it is very helpful in them looking to defend. Baron is going to run out fairly soon, but that was 4 turrets, I believe, taken away. Maybe 3, the bottom one was already gone. This will be the 4th, so as you can see, gold lead all but gone, now in the hands of Union.
Yeah, just like that, right back into it. The Baron was really what they needed to help cement it, taking down all of those turrets. Top, I mean, if you're in Dire Cubs' situation now, they still have the tools to be able to fight. It's just getting a little bit trickier. I really like the way UQ know they're really playing around the weaknesses of that Zona Taric. If you force Andrew to have to use it defensively time and time again, alright, that's half of what makes that combo so scary gone.
Yeah, certainly is the case, and they just haven't been able to set up once, like, since they lost the advantage. Like, when you have the tempo as a 1-3-1 comp, it's very easy to keep snowballing that out, but as soon as you break the cycle, it's incredibly difficult, and you can see them struggling to set this one back up.
lane.
So, yeah. That's actually another flash on the minimap from Dragku. Loses that one.
It's just threatened by Riot. So, again, the Aatrox now coming online. We saw him have a mid-game, you know, you're not really wanting to verse the Rise, but I have to say, I'm really impressed with the way he's playing.
Yeah, hitting...
Especially once the lanes broke.
Yeah, got himself the 3-item mark, as do both the solo lanes. This Urgot is definitely steaming ahead of the top 1v1 matchup as well. He's not playing into it, he's actually playing into the Rise. Probably has more threat there, but... Yeah, the solo lanes. 10 minutes ago, we're looking at Dire Cubs and we're like, yeah, these solo lanes are getting out of hand. They have so much of a CS lead, like the Rise is going to be hugely problematic, but just not able to set this one up. Next Baron is going to be the big port of call, I expect, here for Union. They just want to maintain as much control as possible until that point, but yeah, this is a fairly solid game so far.
Something as well that, I mean, Riot, he has that Guardian Angel online. Almost, if he does get that kill with his ultimate, it's like having 2 lives. It's going to be incredibly tricky to take on down, but also bolstered by the fact that he's dishing out so much damage. So that's a big, big threat, and I say a huge spike on the side of UQ.
Yeah. Certainly is the case. A bunch of pings were going down. Now we have the icon on the minimap, so it is
we know it's coming up soon,
Yeah.
so they're setting up their vision. They're getting ready for that play. As you said, that's probably where you're going to see another big fight happen, because for Dire Cubs, you cannot afford to let another Baron go over.
Yeah, no,
You just cannot.
like that was the first Baron and it broke 4 turrets, right? Like you lost everything outside of your base. You have 1 left and that's it, but if you expect that one to go over once again to the hands of Union, then probably a base broken and a single team fight could be the end for them here. So Union on the cusp of handing Dire Cubs their first loss of the season, fighting over mid control, very important right now. All 5 members of the Wolf Pack are here, whereas Nightfaller abusing his TP, just being given some time on the bot side. Here's a flank.
Out. Alrighty, Ubisoft manages to open up with the ult. The rest of the members are trying to collapse, but they're stuck. You've got Riot trying to do havoc in the bot lane. Unfortunately, though, his Guardian Angel has been procced. The rest of the members trying to see what else they can find. Sand is actually first to fall. Draku, he's stuck amongst it, forcing the Hourglass out. Nightfaller, there's not much else he can do. He's trying to dish out as much damage as he can, but that's the shutdown coming across.
Farmer?
Riot, he's trying to run away with his life. Farmer finally coming online, except with 3 members focusing their attention. The cooldown's out. He's forced to retreat on out.
And he's going to dive the back end, has to
Trying
recommit to
catch
the
the
fight.
But he can't do it.
Yeah, and that looked like almost the perfect fight for the Dire Cubs. They get a 4-man Cosmic Radiance, Taric onto everyone, and Riot was off the side, like, do I commit? Do I actually go in for this play? And a little bit disjointed there. Dire Cubs eventually come up with a victory, but it looked like for a moment Farmer had an opportunity to clean that one up. I think missed an axe, a flash away, or a dash from Drag, who kind of denied him the reset kill that he would have needed, so incredibly close despite the start of that one, but Dire Cubs certainly holding their way into this game.
Patience really paid off from Dire Cubs right there, and I really like that the focus was on Riot. So they popped that Guardian Angel very, very quickly, and that was immediately so much damage gone. You saw Nightfaller trying to dish out as much as he could,
Yep.
had nothing left, and then the rest of the members could clean on up. And for Farmer, I feel for him. I mean, he was left, he thought that he could make a play. There wasn't going to be much else.
Yeah, it was really the one man left standing at the end, and that sort of choke is almost optimal for Dire Cubs. You're getting a Sonar ulti down like that short passageway, it's Tarek stuns, but the big thing for me is the Rise spread. Doesn't matter who you're hitting everybody on the enemy team if you actually get your combos off there, whereas Draven, yes, Farmer does boatloads of damage, is 3, almost 4
Same
items
bush,
here.
maybe trying
Ubisoft's
again.
going.
Ubisoft is being chunked on out. He has to force the ult. Candyman in a
Ulti's
bit of
good.
trouble. The ultimate is very, very good. Sand again, first to fall. The rest of the members focus their
Oh.
attention onto Ryut, and this is looking very, very bad for UQ now. Farmer,
Nice dodge.
he's dodging. He's trying to get away. They're not going to force it. They're actually going to turn their attention straight onto Baron.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, Dire Cubs in the last 5 minutes, they're the ones forcing the fights. Constantly Ubisoft getting to the backside, and as soon as Union aren't the ones to force these fights, they've been losing non-stop. That's 4,000, 3,000, that's gone.
It's finally going to be the Baron now on the side of Dire Cubs, who said that they could not afford to let another one through. And just like that, they knew what they needed to do. For UQ, it didn't work the first time. And they tried to repeat the play.
Well, this is the thing, right? Like, we're talking about the window closing, right? Like, the Draven Leona probably wanted to get much more done in the early game before Sona, before Tarek, before Rise have gotten to this point. Now, team fights, despite Dire Cubs looking at their comp and they're like, we don't necessarily want a team fight, they're pretty damn strong. Now they've got a Baron, they've got an Infernal, they've got themselves a bit of a gold lead here, and team fights are very good, but potentially a case of a little bit too late here for Union, and team fights not going their way. That's a Baron. That's going to be map control wrestled back for the Cubs.
Dracu is also just dishing out so much damage. Now that we can start to see he's really coming online. Already 4 items under his belt, but the Void Staff, he is chunking. And Riot, I said he was doing so much damage before. He can't even get in anymore. They're just blowing him up. And get back on the Rise. It's going to be very, very hard now.
Yeah.
UQ, they just need to really re-establish what they can do. For now, it's just going to be weathering out the Baron Storm. As we see all the members in the bot lane making short work of that turret.
How little can they lose off this one? Dire Cubs just straight up grouping for this. Hitting the turret is potentially fairly hard. They do have a Rise and a Sona, but it's not a Caitlyn.
cannons?
It's double a cannon. Yeah, that's
That's good. That'll help.
a 6 champion. And Farmer's not willing to hit it. That's done 60% of the turret's health for no good reason there. So Dire Cubs get a lot of damage.
Rotating in that mid lane. That's going to be another turret chunked on down. So 2 already from that Baron push. And again, starting to create a gold lead of their own. So just like that, the tables have turned. It was very, very even. But just Baron, we can see just the gold that you get from it. It just helps so much.
Yeah, they immediately set up the map, eat all the waves, eat the turrets, and their 5,000 gold lead from earlier has almost come back. It's very difficult for them to look for the dive, I think, if they do want to opt for that one. You can see they press up to the inhib, but not really willing to contest that one further. Now sent Dragku towards top side to start playing 2 lanes. Does make a lot of sense when you have the Baron buff. It's very easy to kind of match your waves and just let a lot of the minions do the work. You saw the double cannon almost take a turret on the bot side, so...
You know what? I just realized it's 7 to 9. I feel like for all the amount of fighting, that is relatively low kills.
Yeah, I would agree.
Feels like there's been so many more.
Yeah.
I looked up and I'm just like, oh, is that it?
A lot of people living at the back end of these ones. Dire Cubs still looking to push a bot side. Corporal.
He wants to go in with the stun. It doesn't connect, so it's not their go time just yet. But he's threatening for it.
Yeah, Baron is certainly falling off to the wayside here. It's another cannon wave, so we'll do a lot. Candyman looks.
He goes and gets the ultimate onto Corporal, who actually lives. Dracu makes short work out of him. The rest of the members, they're now getting the scattered members. Sand barely makes it out alive.
And they're all full HP. The heals from Tarek, the heals from Sona do so much. UQU just did no damage.
Free inhibitor. That was... It's so hard for Candyman. They can really start to push on in. They're threatening one of the Nexus turrets. Rest of the members of UQ, they just need to clear the waves as fast as they can.
Yeah, Diacub's looking for the end here. Do they have CC? Farmer.
Oh, Unisaki engages. That's going to be Sand. That's first to go on down. Nightfall is the next to fall. You know, with the rest of the Diacubs being so healthy, they're looking to get the kills. They're looking to get the end. Then Nexus falls on down. That's Diacubs with the win.
And in a very back and forth game, you have to say. That was a 5,000 gold lead completely squashed there from, like, Diacubs had it, then UQ, they delete it. But unfortunately, second Baron didn't go the Queenslanders' way, and from that point, it was an easy close there for the Direwolves.
You try once as UQ, as I said, you went to the same bush, it didn't quite work out, but then you really just put on the back foot. They had no chances. Finally, once Diacubs could make those engages, the Sona Taric just came online.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, it was a case of a little bit too late. The Draven Leona didn't get enough done early. Unfortunately for Candyman, like, the ganks just weren't successful. I do want to shout out Get Back, I think, on the Rise that game. Very solid performance. Like, wasn't stand out by any means, right? He did, like, not it wasn't like a big play or anything, but didn't die to anything, and then they put in like the 1-3-1. All of a sudden in the side lane, he's just building a bigger and bigger lead. And once you get to those late game team fights, like, they needed the damage source. The redemption, the Guardian, the heal from the Sona Taric was doing so much, and he's just dishing out damage from the sidelines.
I mean, Candyman tried to make the play on Corporal at the end there, and it just went horribly wrong. They couldn't even dish out enough damage.
His health bar didn't move.
It didn't.
Right? It's like a Guardian, a heal, a Taric heal, a Sona heal, and he's just in the claws
and he's like, sup.
of Iskana, and did absolutely nothing. The
It
ulti
was a
comes
good
down.
try. Like, I definitely, I like that they weren't afraid to make that play, but on Corporal, he's just like,
Look,
sup, thanks.
Yeah, honestly, like a fine target. You have to look for it at that point. The inhibs were exposed. But that is going to be Direwolves' fourth win, or Diacubs rather, for the OCS season to start this one off. 3-minute break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back for Gravitas versus Legacy Genesis.